understanding what modern women want out of modern dating, and why guys are giving up on the expectations and just giving up. We're going to talk about that here on this full-length edition of Depraved and Debaucherous. Welcome to the show. It's King of Podcasts here with you. Thanks for listening in. Subscribe, like, and share if you're catching this on the YouTube channel, or if you're listening on the podcast. Of course, you can find everything at ddradio.live, ddradio.live. That's where everything on this program is housed, and you can find out how to go ahead and follow me on social media, all that good stuff. Now, I don't want to be one of those people that is going to be pigeonholed into a category where I am, talking red pill masculinity or being an alpha male or anything like that. I don't want to be pigeonholed in that category because I think I've put myself away enough in that category to stay in the middle of where I want to benefit men and women. Because most importantly, I know guys that might be speaking a particular narrative that we've heard out there, and we've talked about extensively on the program. I understand where some people feel, there's a trigger to it, that there's certain traits that are traditional that a lot of people in the modern way do not want to subscribe to anymore. And I understand that part. And so I'm not disparaging or discouraging anybody that's dealing with that. And I'm not blaming or chastising or criticizing anyone out there for what they believe. But there is a balance I want to give where it's the part where psychology and our upbringing, what we've gone through growing up, that really does mold why things happen the way they are. And what I feel like is that there are certain guys that want to have a total correction back to where way things were. But I understand things are not going to go back the way they were. What I can tell you is there are a lot of good, successful guys that might not be that particular upper echelon of what women are expected to have right now. They talk about the bare minimum. Well, what's going on now is there's a lot of guys that are average, a lot of guys that are out there that when you look and see who is being picked up, you can see dating at a much younger age, but then you don't see a lot of people at a much older age. You see, I'll put it like this. When I go to the mall, I talk about this all the time. I see how many young people are together dating, but it is probably like the first or second relationship that either the guy or the girl are in. I can't tell you how many times where I see a girl that is basically dragging the guy along to wherever they're going, and they're lovey-dovey, they're holding hands. It's like a newlywed kind of thing. Honeymoon period is there, which is great. And that's that initial part of where things go. But it's based on how you're raised and what you've gone through. And if there's any particular emotional trauma, broken family, have a single parent in the household, or having some kind of emotional, mental, sexual, physical trauma that happened to you as well, that affects you being able to be emotionally available for a relationship. And so when I see all these things going on with guys, sure, the argument for traditionalism, that traditional roles, gender roles for men and women, yeah, I get it. And to a point, I do understand it, and I can understand and I can accept it. But we know we can't go to women this way anymore. But we also can't, succumb or placate to and capitulate to what a woman is asking for in terms of demanding a lot of things from a guy. Demanding what is it his wallet, right? Blowing up his wallet, burning a hole in it. Asking and requesting and demanding that a guy takes care of all their needs, from getting hair done, nails done, makeup, all the necessity that the man's supposed to handle that. There has to be a balance of what benefits both in the relationship. And that we can't just put beauty at such a high value. Look, I was at, Twin Peaks watching football this weekend. I'll tell you, me and a couple of the guys were watching Sunday Night Football, and there was one really pretty bartender that was serving us. Long dark hair. Definitely didn't have as many tattoos, and was really not too, you could just tell was a little more, maybe not so, felt maybe a little more privileged, because obviously with her looks. And just looking at how guys were looking at her at the bar, and seeing one guy in particular with a vest, looking like he was probably either like a car service, or he works at some other job and he's just getting off of work. And trying to get as much time as he can to talk to her in the hope that he's going to get something out of a bartender at Twin Peaks. No, that's not going to happen. But it's like, we do put beauty at such a high value, and it's hard not to do that. But when I look at her, I'm just saying, okay, just take care of my food, take care of my drink. And I'm not worrying about trying to compare, compete, because I haven't tried to go after the highest end of women. And I mean, certain guys will want to do that. So there are guys and girls that do that same thing. They compete for the highest end of beauty, the highest end of handsomeness, highest end of status. And beauty can beget status, and income and knowledge and physical acumen can bring status as well. And that's also in the what you wear, what you do, what's your fit, what's your trip. All that can also be considered what's going on. But I really want to help those that are not so caught up into that mess, that the makeup doesn't matter, that if a girl's just throwing on a ponytail and she's wearing sweats and she's just kind of casual and just relaxed, and the beauty just precedes her, then that's wonderful. That's the kind of girl I'd want. And one girl that's just natural. You know, it would be nice to find a woman that would like to go ahead and keep a home and cook and clean and be a mother to the kids and take that role. There are still women that want to have that. And let's just be honest, ladies, that's what most men will still take if they can have. If they can find a woman that will be a wife, they'll have her. They'll want her. There's a reason why all the women that are wives are all taken. And there's no chance of any guy giving her up. I can't tell you how many times I look over on TikTok and I look at some of the girls that are on there. You know, there's one girl I always see, a Mexican girl, cooking, always something extra special. And she's got kids and she's got the husband. I'm telling you, you can just tell the love that she puts just into the cooking and the effort of wanting to cook a good meal for her man or keeping a house. Because it's not something about, enjoying what the labor of the work is supposed to be. That's supposed to be something fulfilling. The fulfillment is what you're doing to, please the woman, the man or the woman you love. Like, I mean, if a guy was in that situation, yeah, I would want to know and cook and clean. If the woman was taking care of me, I'd also want to have a nice home for her to come home to. And I would want to be accountable, and I want to make her feel happy. But people don't want to just be made happy anymore. It's like all the other things that are going to make you happy, which is the part I don't understand, and I can't stand it. But the other problem is because, and this has been brought up pretty much where social media is the culprit. And I've gotten a better understanding of the best way to explain it. Because I forget who I was listening to that made this point. But when you look at social media as a whole, before this, when we were my age, right? 30 years ago, when we didn't have the internet yet, what we had was everything we saw that was beautiful or rich or status seeking would be what we would see around us at the clubs, in the bars, in the supermarkets, out and about, high school, college, whatever we're doing. It would be what was in front of you, what you could see, what is within driving distance. But when we look at everyone else on Instagram, on TikTok, and we see all these other beautiful people and all the things that everybody's doing out there, these influencers that have magnified what we're missing out on, the fear of missing out is very much real, and it is intensified. So we don't understand that there's a difference between what you're looking at around you in your local community, in your local regional neighborhood, than what there is when you go out everywhere else. And by the way, I mean, I live near Miami, West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. The beautiful people are here. The status has always been here. All of that. So you definitely feel that part, which is where I think with social media for me doesn't affect me so much because I see that's what's all out there. I mean, I see a lot of beautiful girls from everywhere else. But for me, I'll see girls that are of different walks of life that are kind of just a little more homely, a little bit more natural, and a more, that's not what I see here. A lot of beautiful women with all different places, different ethnicities, different cultures. Awesome. But that's a different place now. And what we look at now is like, well, you see something that's like extra beautiful, extra what you think would be ideally attractive to you, but they're so far away. And the acceptable behavior because those people are out there. And now you can feel like there's actually an attainability because you can communicate with them on FaceTime. You can talk to them on Snapchat or Skype or, whatever, Duo. And then you can actually book a plane ticket and go see that person or go visit them for as long as you want. Those options now are acceptable. It's now not the exception, it's the norm. And it's unfortunate that's happened that way because I don't want it to be like that, but that's where we are. So one story that came out from the New York Times talks about how could we go back to what's retro? There's a story that talks about that. A guest essay in the New York Times from Michael Leibowitz. Now, she goes along and says that watching the ways the secular mainstream has lashed tentatively, faddishly onto traditional dating practice, the slew of matchmaking companies sorting out the love lives of the rich and famous, the articles declaring matchmaking is hot again, and various Netflix shows going after an older version of romance. A reacquaintance with more traditional forms of meeting and falling in love make me feel hopeful. Seeing signs of a culture grasping for the things it rightly needs. And by the way, when guys and the trend starts becoming, well, maybe I'm not going to just go across the country to go meet a girl. I'm going to go other side of the world to meet a woman. Hashtag passport boys. It's now a thing. It's been a thing. We've known about the mail order brides, but now that's not the exception. That's the norm now. Now there are guys who are absolutely willing to go to Colombia, Venezuela, the Philippines, wherever, to find a wife and bring them home. Because they also know they're not going to go to certain areas where the mail order brides would come from, like Czech Republic or Russia or whatever. They're not going to do that. Because now you have real opportunities to really connect and know some people. Because like I said, my former best friend, for all the flaws that he had or whatever it was, this are falling out. What I will say was this guy had some balls to decide, okay, I'm going to take whatever money I have in the bank. I'm going to plug it on a plane ticket. I'm going to go visit a girl that I met on OkCupid and I've been talking to on WhatsApp for 4 years. A Filipina girl who's a teacher working in Thailand. He goes to Thailand. He spends a month with her. And he is able to instantly validate and confirm his love for this woman and says he's going to do whatever it takes. He's going to go to the lawyers. He's going to go to the immigration attorney. He's going to get the visa. He's going to get her here. Year and a half later, she gets here. Takes about 6 months before they before they automatically, they get married. 2 weeks after they show up. And then 6 months later, he's already having kids with her. And they have a baby girl. And there you go. It's like off and running. And he would have never found any woman that would have satisfied him anywhere in this country, for that matter, because he was such an incel. Such a gamer guy that was just, introverted, very nerdy. And, that's what it was. And there are a lot of guys that are very much fit that description right now where they're not going to go into the dating pool. They don't want to do it. And I understand why. Because part of it, what's happened is that the guys that women have wanted to go after, right? They wanted to go after certain guys of a certain status. But guess what? All those guys, they are abusive. They have power. They have status. They have money. And so with all of that, they can basically run through any woman that they want sexually because the women are aplenty because they're willing to go ahead and take on a guy with status thinking they're going to be the one that's going to hold on to him. They're going to be the one that gets the $1 million guy. No, doesn't happen. Or the guy that has status or good looking guy or whatever. And the problem with him is that he's got his own flaws. The looks don't help when it comes to attitude, behavior, being a serial cheater, being abusive, or feeling like he can go in and every girl will want to consent to have sex with him, but they don't. So he can force himself on any girl he wants. And there are guys out there very much that will rape. Plus, not to mention the beautiful girls that have gotten through very much sexual trauma, emotional trauma, or psychological trauma from being at home with family and we're finding there was a dysfunction or somebody that was just creepy or weird or lecherous or just not a good person, taking advantage of a young, impressionable girl, whether it's a toddler, whether it's, preteen, or whether it's in high school. Those stories are probably more common than you think, which is why I have to feel like there's something where women, even getting up to 17, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, 21, 22, 23, they're becoming damaged. And because of all the things that are going on with peer pressure and all the other things that are being pushed on, like the whole environment, women are not prepared for what happens with them. And part of that could be because they don't have a man and a woman, a husband, a mother and a father that are strong-minded, that put in strong, moral attributes to them and make it realize right from wrong and make sure they're protected by the fact that they know what not to get into, who not to get with, to know the red flag. Or if the red flags come up and pop up, they get out. But nobody's doing that. So Michal, I guess I thought it was Michael, but it's Michal, and it's a female, so I'm going to go with Michal. She says there are elements of traditional dating culture that provide solutions, not just to the way we find people to date, but also the way we navigate relationships. Through conversations with traditional secular daters, she's come to see 3 practices that are particularly promising for people who are looking for committed long-term relationships. Meeting partners through friends, family, or matchmakers rather than online, number 1. Early upfront communication around long-term goals and values, number 2. And number 3, delaying sexual intimacy. So is it time to court again? It's a great question. What they're saying right there is basically what you see with people that are very much religious and, a woman that wants to save herself for marriage. The idea is meeting partner through friends, family, or matchmakers. So like-minded people and finding ways within the circles that you're in to find people that you'll be able to meet together that might go work so well. Because that's the whole idea what happens with high school and college. Like you meet people that'll probably introduce you to people and hook you up. And then people just kind of matchmake. For all the times that I never was able to get a girl for me, I still thought the girl was something good. And I always felt there was something valuable. And there was just something about her because of what I liked, even though she was not for me. One of the things I'll tell you was very selfless as me is I was never afraid to matchmake. So if this girl's not for me, somebody else should enjoy spending time with her because I got to know her well. And if I like her, I think somebody else should enjoy her. And I can tell you, I did that many times. Quite successfully, as a matter of fact. But you know what? She's right on all these fronts. It wouldn't be a bad idea to go that route. I don't want to go much farther into that, but she makes a good point. Because the internet is just failing us. Bumble and Tinder, horrible thing. And the fact that these new walls are up now because of the fact that women or men in some cases, they're not even going to bother to go out to meet people when they could just be lazy and use the dating apps. Listen, I did the same thing. And part of it is for me is I can't make time to get away because of a lot of different personal things going on. But even before, I did use the dating apps because it was a way to kind of just connect. And when I didn't have time to get away, and I didn't want to make the time anymore because I was getting older to go to the clubs or the bars, or these days go to the strip clubs, which I'm not going to go do that. The guys now, especially in South Florida, you have to go, and the idea is, okay, you go to a bar, yeah, you can go drinks, that's pretty easy to get in there, no cover. Nightclubs, you absolutely have to pay for a cover. No one's dancing in the clubs anymore. They're just standing around and jumping around, that's it. And then you have the strip club. And the strip clubs, you're paying to get in, the drink minimums, you have to pay for the girls. The girls you're not even going to go home with or you're doing anything with. You're just looking, just the eye candy. And then you're trying to compete with the fact that these girls are going to put it so hard for you to go ahead and connect with them in a strip club. Okay? That's a normal thing here. I don't like any of those options. Not anymore. I mean, I did go, when I used to go to the bar still, I would still go to a karaoke bar, and I might meet a girl here and there, but honestly, that was it. But like, it's a different time. I mean, to meet up these days, where you have to go to meet, it's not even so much about how you get dressed up or how you get to meet the bouncers and this and that. You're not getting any advantages over there. I mean, for us in the retro culture, she's talking about 40 years, 30 years ago, we didn't pay for cover. The cover was a very limited thing at that time. To spend $10 for a cover to get into a club was high. But we didn't have to do that much. Not these days. Guys have to put so much up front just to go and meet girls at a club or at a bar or whatever. And they might find a place as a restaurant that converts into a club and all that, but still, it's like the drinks are ridiculously high. I mean, these nighttime places, they're just going to charge like crazy. Now that you have Uber or Lyft, it's not even so much where you can go ahead and say, well, I'm trying to get a girl to go and meet you, pick her up and go take her out. And because of the idea that you can just go to certain places and, if a woman gets all dressed up, all the different things that she can put on now, where all the clothes are very much disposable. And she has a lot more access to clothing because of online. She can buy whatever she wants. She can buy different outfits, all the different things that have been put on that she sees on social media, that all the new beauty secrets, all the new enhancements, adjustments you can make, from eyelashes to makeup to nails to BBLs to, breast enhancement, all this shit. Some of that right there. Like there's beautiful women that do all that, but man, it's just not natural. It's not normal. Plus the other thing too is just to find a girl that's just natural looking and just doesn't have she's not where it's like not even what she wears. It's because of the fact that she has so many tattoos decorating her whole body. Like you can't even find if the woman who she is, what her real skin is. You can't even see it. It's all those things that are going on. And it's like, man, it's just changed. So, there was a time where from the mid 1940s to 2013, heterosexual Americans were most likely to meet their romantic partners through friends. As late as 1980, almost 20% of heterosexual couples met with their help. With friends. Matchmakers continue to play a major role in connecting singles in plenty of more traditional communities. And that was something that used to be nice. Because you also had a little bit of pressure to make sure, hey, this person vouched for you and you need to step up and be the right kind of guy or right kind of girl. And the other way around. Like, it's important to see that. But now, there's no real impression or any expectations or any kind of seriousness to online dating. Not at all. I mean, the opportunities to turn something around, you get better turnaround if you're just looking to go ahead and screw, as opposed to, because the idea is that was, getting together with somebody to go ahead and go DTF. The idea is that it's secret, discreet, it's hidden, it's quiet. And people could just hook up just to hook up. It's not like it's out in public. So you can just hook up whatever and then that's fine. But it's like also, there's only certain people that are going to get to be able to do that. And that's it. Who else is going to enjoy that? Nobody. It's these things here that have changed everything. That's where our online dating has gone where it's gone. And it sucks. I want to take another story here about from a website called Study Finds. And there's some new things talking about how young men are working to undo recent advances. See, there's men are understanding where things have changed now altogether. So there's a study that came out. 32,000 people across 27 countries. It says that younger men, as opposed to older generations, are more likely to believe in the zero-sum game notion that feminism has hurt their livelihoods and chance at a stable life. The University of Gothenburg in Sweden, they researched that distrust in corrupt social institutions and a rise in young male unemployment is giving rise to modern sexism among men under 30. And researchers explain that zero-sum game reasoning underlying modern sexism among young men is a perception that one group's progress, in the case women, only occurs at the expense of another. So as women are deciding to, dismiss traditional norms, become their own woman, become their own, self-absorbed, self-reliant person. Yeah, they're going to just start believing, well, I don't need a man for anything else. And they're going to no longer prioritize a need for a man to be a husband or a father of the kids. That doesn't matter to them. And there's some people that believe that increased gender equality only benefits women and do not see the benefits for society as a whole. And this feeling of injustice can even motivate citizens to vote for different political parties or against feminism and sexual freedom. So it's the younger people that are feeling this is where they are. There's a gap between young men and young women getting together. Young men have not been able to find a stable job or have not progressed as far in their careers as older men, leading them to blame women for this workplace inequality. Well, that's a problem over there. But over here, there's guys that are successful, women that are successful. But that drive for success and ambition and determination, then that throws away the whole need of wanting to find traditional husband and wife. Plus, remember, the court system doesn't help. The advantages are all towards women. If you have kids, if you don't have kids, whatever income you bring into the relationship, the court's going to side with the woman. For the income, the guy will have to give half of his estate. That's just how it is. Even in the common law marriage, where you're not even married yet, you're just engaged, you've been together for 10 years plus in certain states like Florida. And then the children is another story, because family court's still going to side mostly with the women. That's how it is. With all that going against men, yeah, why even bother? When guys start realizing all this, yeah, they're not even going to bother anymore. There are certain things that women think are the bare minimum. But the men, if they want to go ahead and be in a relationship with some of the women they're with, they have to accept the bare minimum and nothing else. Because the bare minimum in that case is the fact that, everything else trumps whatever I do for you as a woman because I'm pretty, because I'm young and beautiful. That's it. And the desire from other men will make it harder for you to hold on to. So you're stuck in this cycle here. And when I see guys that get caught up in relationships like this, I'm like, well, is it benefiting you? Are you really getting what you want from this? And I don't think they are. I see guys having to sacrifice and having to, remove themselves away from who they really are just to do something. It sucks. Now, I also make the point here in this story that we need to get better at communicating the benefits of gender equality. Fathers get to spend more time with their children, and the burden of being the family's breadwinner is lightened when mothers and families also advance their careers, according to one of the professors in the study. There's some other things. The Atlantic had a good story about readers about the rise of dating apps, and there's various stories on there I figured I was going to bring up, but I'm not going to get into any of those right now. But there's a lot can be said on that, so I put that link in there for you. And I'll tell you what, at some point, remember we talked about the app Thursday a few months ago? Because now we're getting 8 dating apps that have to go to the extreme just to try to get members to go ahead and be involved. Like, for instance, now you have Thursday, which is the thing where if you want to meet somebody on a weekend, then you have to talk to them within 24 hours for them to connect with you. Another side that's being talked about now, which is in Ukraine, is called Pure. Women can join for free, the men pay a fee, and the story that came in from sifted.eu that talks about this. It's found on the premise of sex without strings. It's a sex on-demand app really making for a safe space for all users. And you wonder why the dating apps are so important? There's a story from Statista, or there's a graphic from Statista in this Sifted article. That tells you how much money's being made in major countries, right? How the world dates online. Penetration rate of dating apps in the US, 15.7%, and they make over $800 million a year. In the UK, $116 million. China, almost $500 million and 6% penetration. France, Germany, UK, all around 10% penetration of the amount of people that are engaged on dating apps. So Pure was founded in 2012 by two Ukrainian founders, and it works similar to other dating apps. Users upload photos to create a bio, and they can then chat if they like each other. Men and non-binary users pay a fee to create an account. Women do not. But then Pure users also list their turn-ons, including anything from kisses to massages to wax play. In lieu of the awkward short bio, create ads where they can be explicit about what they're looking for. It's also designed for anonymity. Chats will expire after 24 hours unless both users turn off the timer and keep talking and self-destructing photos. And so they talked to one of the people that created this, the first female CEO of this company, Olga Prechunina. And she makes the point here that if you want to be a modern company, you cannot be the same like you've been 10 years ago. That you have to change the brand strategy. We transformed the graphics for the site since they've been improving it and changing it and updating it. They're more light, more playful, more kinky. And that the app's video sex feature was a huge driver of user growth during COVID-19. Still a big trend with fast-growing Asian audience. So she says here that most girls are not ready to go out tonight and have sex with someone. They want to, but sometimes they're not ready. And then you hear about things about when somebody gets on the site, you say, okay, it does have a feeling of an app like a Hinge or a Field, that you open it up and there's all these different spinning eyes, one-eye minotaur, swirling black and purple graphics. And it's a bit less choreographed. That the apps normally hold your hand to the process of selling yourself, whereas this one's different. And so this is the thing where, it's kind of making it almost a little more like sex. But then that's another thing we have to talk about sometime down the line, because what women don't realize, and I want to close out with this point, is that the closer we continue to go down this route where women expect things, there have to be things that are brought into the relationship. A supposed relationship, which can never be a relationship because a woman can always find options to go ahead and get out. At what point do we start crossing the line and saying, you know what, you're basically escorting or prostituting yourself? I'm not judging that you do that. I'm not blaming you if you do. But we're getting to the point where some women, if they're not career driven and they're just looking for someone just to support them to where the woman doesn't do anything at all, then you have to realize that woman is basically being an escort or practicing prostitution. Just because it's not perceived or doesn't have the visual of the same thing, like you see like some guy picking a girl up, at a bar and paying for play or finding a girl off the street. Just because it's not that, or just finding some girl on a website, an escort site, and just meeting up with them or going to their house, in call, out call. That doesn't mean anything about the fact that women, if you were looking to try to go and get everything that you want and more, then the perception is going to play. Oh, OnlyFans doesn't give you that whole feeling prostitution, but it kind of, you're putting yourself out like a porn star. Like, at what point do you cross the line? You're bending the line of porn star now by being on OnlyFans. You're bending the line in a way on Instagram based on how much skin you like to show. But then when you look at dating here and you're going out with guys for what they're going to give you and the things you get from it, then how close to the line are we talking about when it comes to being an escort or being a prostitute? I mean, if people want to still kind of cloud that out, I don't see it. I think it's pretty distinctive. I'd rather just define it that way if that's the case. Look, I mean, if guys knew they could just go pay for play, if prostitution was legalized, honestly, I don't think it would hurt the market right now. It would not be good morally, it would not be good religiously, of course not. But it's happened many other times, the oldest living profession. So if prostitution was legalized, maybe that'll make a difference on how things go. Because I also think if prostitution was legalized, it would change a lot of the dynamic of women's leverage. Sex work. I think it would change a lot of the different opinions. And I think the modern woman would probably be muted and would be silenced. And some of these things would kind of go back to the way they were if prostitution was just the way it was. Let's just say it like that. Just like cannabis should be legalized, prostitution should be legalized too. Why even hold back on it? I mean, if people want to have what they're going to have, and if men want to get what they want to do and they know there's a price for it, and women want to have what they want to get from men and they want to put a price tag on it, then go for it. Who's stopping them, right? That's where I'm coming from with all that. That's the show tonight. Thanks for listening in. Find other shows you always do. And if you have any questions, comments, feel free to go and reach me. There's a link where you can go ahead and send me a message at ddradio.live, or just, leave a message or a comment on the YouTube channel. I'll take it from there. And just go to ddradio.live 3 times a week. I put new audio episodes, new video episodes 3 times a week. You can find it all right there. Bookmark it so you can never miss an episode. So, like I said, let's just legalize prostitution. Let's just go ahead and open the door, and let's make dating apps less relevant. Let's create reasons for women to want to go back to maybe taking the option. They don't have to go back to traditional dating norms, but you know what? It's not a bad thing to have. It would be nice to have that for women to be an option. But in the meantime, if you don't want to do that, you can be depraved and debaucherous.